Now, did you know before speaking with Miss Battle what kind of call you were responding to initially?
Yes,
What kind of call was that?
it was a shots fired call.
Now, Officer Hill, I want to approach you with what's been marked as State's Exhibits 3 Lima Lima through 64 Lima Lima. Now, Officer Hill, if you can do me a favor and flip through from 3 Lima Lima through 64 Lima Lima, and when you're done, just look up at me.
Yes, sir.
What are those? 3
This-
through 64.
photos of the damaged property and some of the shell casings that we recovered from the scene.
Are they a fair and accurate of the photographs in the scene that you responded to on April 28th, 2015?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to admit into evidence State's Exhibits 3 through 64, Lima, Lima.
They're admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Officer Hill, I want to start with 3 through 12, Lima, Lima. What apartment was Miss Battle's apartment? After speaking with her, you said you went inside. What apartment was it that you all went to?
Apartment 1122.
And so I want to publish State's Exhibit 3, Lima, Lima first. Now, Officer Hill, you had said she was on the first floor, apartment 1122,
Yeah, yes, sir.
and turning to 4 Lima Lima. Is this 1122 the apartment you went to with Miss Battle that night?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you describe for the jury, what did you see when you went inside? I'm going to publish 5 Lima Lima, or I'll take a step back. You had first mentioned her back porch.
Mhm.
What was the damage that you noticed, if any, on Miss Battle's apartment porch?
You can tell that her back door was damaged, had glass shatter throughout the door. So when I went in, she pointed me into the direction, and I was able to see where the bullet made entry. And I just traced the direction and noticed that it went through her couch as well.
I'm going to walk through a couple of these photographs with you, Officer Hill. And
Okay.
this- Publishing 7 Lima Lima, can you orient for the jury? Do you see the damage you had just referenced in 7 Lima Lima?
Oh, yes, sir.
And where is it?
It's toward the bottom of the door or glass.
Is it where that blind is?
Damaged it. Yes, sir.
And once you trace that, can you show the jury on publishing 8 Lima Lima where that bullet?
Yeah. So the bullet, when it made entry through the door or the glass, it went directly to the couch cushion, like where the armrest is at, and it went through the pillows.
I'm going to publish 9 Lima Lima. Is 9 Lima Lima, is that the inside of Miss Battle's apartment door, 1122?
Yes.
And 10 Lima Lima, can you describe for the jury, is this the couch that you were just discussing with them about the bullet hole?
Yes, sir.
And 11 Lima Lima, where did you notice the damage in Miss Battle's couch in 11 Lima Lima?
Right at the bottom part of the arm cushion. Yeah, that's where the damage the bullet went through.
And 12 Lima Lima, do you see any debris or that you saw that night in Miss Battle's apartment?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury where that is?
It's right in between on the bottom right of the pillow, in between the green and red circles.
You direct my mouse, or you tell me, you talking about towards the right of where that clicker is?
Yes.
Now, was anyone else in the apartment with Miss Battle when you were walking through with her to see the damage?
Not that I seen though.
Did you ever become aware of any other apartments that were damaged?
Yeah, so after I got finished talking with Ms. Battle, I walked outside where her balcony was at and just cased the area. And that's when I seen several other shell casings outside of apartment 1120.
Now, is apartment 1120, is that right next door to Miss Battle's apartment?
Yes.
Now, after you looked through Miss Battle's and saw these additional shell casings, was the lighting better or worse in terms of natural sunlight by that time?
Still about the same at that time.
And so when you first came on scene, it was dark out.
Mhm.
And did you notice the shell casings as the lighting got better?
So as I waited for the ID set to come out, take pictures of the damages, by that time it became daylight. So that's when I noticed several more shell cases in the middle of the street.
Now, would you have been the officer who radioed for ID to come out to 1903 Drew Drive?
Yes, sir.
And did a crime scene tech arrive?
Yes.
Now, after realizing this additional damage, was anyone in apartment 1120?
Initially, I didn't know. So we did try to do a knock and talk, make sure nobody wasn't injured inside the home or possibly deceased. So I was able to get the maintenance man of the complex to let me in for me to do a welfare check of the home. After I did the welfare check, I realized no one was in the home, so we secured the door and exited.
Now, I want to talk to you about what you saw inside apartment 1120. So I'm publishing 13 Lima Lima. Is this the inside of the outside of apartment 1120 next door to Miss Battles?
Yes.
Now, Officer Hill, was there also, or can you describe for the jury what I'm going to publish 15 Lima Lima? Is this the outside of apartment 1120?
Yes.
And what type of damage was in that apartment?
This apartment had a lot more damage to the glass, the windows. You can tell that more bullets were hit this home compared to Miss Battles.
I'm showing you 16 Lima Lima, and I'm going to turn to 17 Lima Lima. What is that at the base of the door outside apartment 1120 on the ground?
Appears to be a shell casing.
And is there any glass that you see on the ground?
Yes.
Is that from shattered glass from bullets going through that back patio door?
Yes.
And is that a close-up 18 Lima Lima, Officer Hill, of what we were just discussing?
Yes.
Now, is 19 Lima Lima, is this the inside of apartment 1120?
That's correct.
Publishing 20 Lima Lima, was there any damage in the kitchen area of this apartment when you went inside to inspect it?
Yes.
And looking at 21 Lima Lima, what do you see in this photograph inside the kitchen of apartment 1120?
The oven was damaged from the bullets.
Was anyone shot inside apartment 1120 when you were there that night?
No.
And Officer Hill, with 22 Lima Lima, is this a piece of debris inside that apartment?
Yes.
And do you know what type of, either what that is? Is that have any connection with bullet?
Yes.
What is it?
Like fragment from a bullet.
Turning to 23 Lima Lima, inside of this apartment, was there any defects in the walls from inside that apartment?
Yes, sir.
And did you do a similar to how you did in Miss Battle's apartment in terms of try to trace to the best you can where the bullets came from the outside in?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm showing you is 24 Lima Lima. Do you see a defect in this photograph?
Yes.
Also publishing 25 Lima Lima. Do you see any defects in this photograph?
Yes.
And from your personal review, did you or did you not believe that these defects came from bullets?
Yes.
They did. Also showing you 26 Lima Lima. Do you see any defects here between in this laundry room area of the apartment?
Yes.
And can you describe for the jury where it is?
It's right in the kind of middle of the picture, in between the cords, the hole.
27 Lima Lima. Was there any, and I'm going to actually go to a better one of 29 Lima Lima. Do you see any damage to this other window inside like the bedroom area of that apartment?
Yes.
And is where the mouse is the area of the window that has the bullet defect?
Yes, sir.
Is this another angle of that same window in 30 Lima Lima?
Yes.
And do you see, Officer Hill, in 31 Lima Lima, any bullet projectiles or debris in this photograph?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury where that is?
So inside the left shoe.
And is it the all white shoes?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. The all white flat shoe.
And is it towards the toe or the heel of that shoe?
Towards the heel.
I'm going to move. Is that what you were describing, Officer Hill?
Yes.
Now, Officer Hill, once you looked in apartments 1120 and apartments 1122, did you ever go outside into the street area at 1903 Drew Drive?
Yes.
And what did you see outside in the street, outside of those back porches of those apartments?
Several shell casings.
And by several, how many shell casings did you see roughly outside in the street?
I would say over 20 at that time.
Turning or publishing 62 Lima Lima, can you describe for the jury in general what this photograph depicts?
Yeah, so everywhere you see a yellow marking on the ground is where we recovered a shell casing from.
So are all of these yellow placards in the street outside of 1903 Drew Drive indicative of shell casings or projectiles in the street?
Yes.
Publishing 63 Lima Lima, is this another view of those shell casings in the street?
Yes.
Now, Officer Hill, while the crime scene tech was there, there's a number, or how many, well, I'll do this. Do you see that this is placard number 1 and 32 Lima Lima?
Mhm.
I'm going to publish 61 Lima Lima. Excuse me, publishing 60 Lima Lima. And Officer Hill, what is next to the placard in 28 as depicted on 60 Lima Lima next to placard number 28?
Shell casing.
And so was there 28 placards that were crime scene tech put on scene outside of 1903 Drew Drive?
Yes.
And are walking back to now, while I'm getting that pulled up, I wanted to take a step back. When you were at Club Crucial, do you know what time that fight commenced before you went to Jew Drive?
Do I remember what time the fight started?
Correct.
Oh, we got the call around between maybe 1:30. So it happened before that.
And was, while you were out on scene, were any suspects identified from Club Crucial that you responded to?
Not for me, no, sir.
And if you had to ballpark, how long were you personally, on that scene? Was it 30 minutes? Was it an hour, 2 hours?
But between 20 and 30 minutes.
And were you able to do anything or take any steps to identify who was fighting at Club Crucial?
No.
Were you able to do anything to identify who was shooting?
No.
And that time of night, is Club Crucial crowded or not crowded?
Crowded.
And after there's a shooting, is it easy or difficult to gather information when Club Crucial is crowded and there's a shooting?
No, it's difficult.
Overruled.
You may answer, Officer Hill.
It's difficult at that time.
Why is it difficult? Why is it difficult to gather information in that environment?
Multiple people running, trying to get out the way, trying to get home, get safe. So a lot of times people are not trying to talk to us or answer any questions.
And is the parking lot of Club Crucial in close or not in close proximity to where people would come out if everyone was leaving the establishment?
Yes.
Is it close?
It's
Or
close.
not?
No, it's close, yeah.
Did you personally speak to anyone at Club Crucial when you arrived?
No.
How often would you get calls when you've been working in Zone 1 over the past 12 years about shots fired or fights at Club Crucial?
Objection as to relevance.
Your Honor, there's multiple 2517 Donnelly Hollowell, which is the location of Club Crucial. Officer Hill, you may answer. How many times have you responded to shots fired or a fight at 2517 Donnelly Hollowell Club Crucial?
A lot.
And by a lot, is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 1,000?
At that time, maybe a few hundred.
Now, should be coming up momentarily, Officer Hill. So we started with placard 1, and then I showed you placard 28. I'm not going to go through every one, but I wanted to cycle through a couple to talk about with the jury. So, Officer Hill, do you see a shell casing in 33 Lima Lima next to placard number 2?
Yes.
And do you know what type of shell casings were on scene?
Not at that moment I did.
Were you ever able to determine or learn what type of shell casings that they were?
Yes.
What type were they?
They were 9mm shell casings.
Was there any other type of shell casings that you found on scene?
It was, but I don't know. I don't remember what the other
That's all right.
casing was.
going back to placard number 4, which is 35 Lima Lima, where is the shell casing in 35 Lima Lima in relation to that vehicle?
Right underneath the tire.
And so were the shell casings that were in the street, were some underneath vehicles, some were they scattered throughout Jew Drive, or were they not?
Yes, they were scattered out throughout the drive.
Now, since you've been working in Zone 1, at least in regards to night shift, when you come on at 10 and leave at 6 a.m., when do calls typically tend to die down? What part of the night?
Towards the end, so anytime after 4 on out, it tends to die down.
When's like the most busiest time on shift?
When we first come on, like around 10 and 12.
And when you got to the scene, roughly again, what time was it when you first met Miss Battle?
A little bit after 5.
Was there many people out at that time?
No.
Publishing 36 Lima Lima, is there another shell casing from the scene?
Yes.
I'm going to jump to .43 Lima Lima. In 43 Lima Lima, and while you were walking the scene, were some of the projectiles or defects from bullets close by to one another, or were they not?
Yes.
And is 43 Lima Lima show different projectiles or debris from bullets in close proximity to one another?
Yes.
I'm going to turn back to .62 Lima Lima. Using .62 Lima Lima, what was the proximity of the vehicles to where the shell casings were found on scene?
They were pretty close.
And how close were these shell casings to the apartment, specifically 1120 and 1122 that you responded to that night?
So apartment 1120, 1122 would be right on the other side of those black rails in the bushes.
On the right side of the
I'm
photograph?
sorry, yes, to the right side of the photo.
Like this, is this the black rail that you're describing?
Yes.
So if you were to walk, you see where my cursor is?
Mhm.
If you were to walk from this part of Drew Drive and walk all the way towards the camera angle and keep walking, would these placards from the debris or projectiles, where would they be in relation to both those apartments? Were they concentrated or not concentrated in a specific
Yes.
area?
They were concentrated in that particular area.
Now, did you ever look or try to find any surveillance videos at this apartment complex?
We did canvas for surveillance footage, but we were able to locate any at that time.
Were you able to ever find or locate any eyewitnesses when you were on scene?
No.
Now, did you ever come to learn who lived in apartment 1120 next to Miss Battles?
Yes.
Who was that?
I'm going to object to hearsay.
What's your response?
I'll ask a couple foundational questions before, Your
Alright.
Honor. Officer Hill, when you responded to this scene, or do you write reports in relation to the investigations that you work?
Yes.
Do you include information about apartments you respond to or victims in the cases?
Yes.
Why is that? Why do you include that information?
Just for future references, we list any owners or tenants that apartments were damaged or could have been damaged in the reports for further investigations.
And without stating anything yet, how was it that you were able to come to learn who resided in apartment 1120?
So in the apartment complex is two other officers, Atlanta police officers that live in the complex. They had a layout of the tenants that lived in the property, and they were able to give me the name of the tenant.
So they had a layout of the residents of all the apartments at that location?
Yes, sir.
And using that, were you able to determine who was listed as living in that apartment?
Yes.
Your Honor, may he be permitted to answer?
I'm going to object based on hearsay and confrontation.
And Your Honor, the effect on Officer Hill's investigation before leaving the scene?
Sustained.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Officer Hill, after crime scene came, what did you all do with the shell casings that we've walked through here today? Did you leave them in the street? Did you take them somewhere? What did y'all do with them?
No, we collected them and turned them in as evidence.
And in the shell casings that were in the street, who was it that actually took those and transported them?
Myself.
And where did you take them?
So our property building, and that's where we take all evidence and properties.
Now, did you ever, after responding to this scene, what would have happened was there ever other investigators or APD personnel who would have worked this case after your involvement?
Yes, soon as I do my initial report, it'll get assigned to an investigator and they'll take over the case from there.
So, and do those investigators conduct follow-up in cases to gather more information after you leave the scene?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when you were working the night shift in Beat 10 Zone 1, how would you respond to multiple calls within a night?
Yes.
And after you respond and gather initial information, do you have to respond to other calls that come in?
Yes.
Did the owner of that home ever come in to report those shots and damage sustained at apartment 1120?
Not that night, not to me, no.
One brief moment, Your Honor. Your Honor, no further questions for Officer Hill at this time.
All right, do any of the defense counsel have questions for this witness?
And I thank you. On behalf of Mr. Williams, we have no questions.
Okay,
Nothing on behalf of Mr. Stillwell.
anyone else? No questions. All right, officer, thank you for your time. You're excused.
Thank you.
We ready for the next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls senior analyst Courtney Daniels to the stand.
All right.
Please raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Have a seat. State spell the first and last name for the court. Slide into the mic, please.
Courtney Daniels, Daniels.
And good afternoon, Ms. Daniels. Where do you work?
Verizon Wireless,
And how long have you been with Verizon Wireless?
10 years.
And if you could tell the jury briefly about your job duties and responsibilities.
I'm a custodian of records, so I handle testifying in criminal as well as civil cases. We also handle small claims, mediations, arbitrations, and other executive complaints that come in our office.
And you said that you're the custodian of records. What type of documents would be within your purview that you testify to?
So we testify to subscriber information, call details, text message details, text message content, any internet records that are available.
So first starting with call detail records, if you can tell the jury when you, the call detail records that are with Verizon Wireless, generally what time zone are those call detail records kept in?
Call detail records are based on where the user is located, so it's based on that time zone.
So for example, if you have call detail records for a phone based out of Georgia, would that be an Eastern time zone?
Yes,
And you also talked about you keep records with text messaging content.
yes.
What time zone are those text messages usually kept in?
So text messages are, the time zone is based on the switch where these, which is the brain of the network, where it's located. So that's how we tell what the time zone is for the text message.
And the documents that you talked about that you may testify to, are those documents kept in the regular course of Verizon business?
Yes,
And is the information contained within those records made at or near the time in which the calls or texts are made?
yes,
Specifically, we talked about subscriber information. Is that document kept within the regular course of Verizon business?
yes,
And we talked about the call detail records, same question, kept in the regular and ordinary course of Verizon business?
yes,
And then text message content, are those kept in the regular and ordinary course of Verizon business?
yes.
With the call detail records, do you also provide cell site information?
When requested, yes.
Okay. And what is cell site information?
Cell site information tells us what towers were involved and the locations of those cell towers.
Now, with Verizon Wireless, do you have prepaid and postpaid accounts?
Yes.
If you could tell the jury what's a prepaid account versus a postpaid account?
So a prepaid account is where you subscribe for service. You don't have to provide any verification information such as social security numbers. You just provide a name that you like on the account, your address, and then we provide you a phone number that you pay for monthly before you use the service. Well, postpaid, you have a monthly bill, you have to provide your social security number, identification, the address that will be on the account, and you're billed monthly. So you receive a bill every month. You don't receive a bill prepaid. If you don't pay, you don't continue the service. Postpaid, you'll receive a monthly bill and continue that service until you tell us that you do not want it any longer.
And you said with prepaid account, you can come up with any name that you want.
Yeah, it could be anything that you'd like it to be listed as.
So someone can call it Mickey Mouse and they'll get the phone.
That's fine. Yes.
Now, I want to direct your attention to the reason for your testimony here. Did Verizon Wireless receive a subpoena from both the Atlanta Police Department and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
Amen.
I'm going to show defense what has been marked as State's Exhibit 469, 464 Yankee and 464 Yankee Alpha and Delta.
Go ahead.
On the first approach was safety exhibit 464 Yankee, 464 Yankee Alpha, and 464 Yankee Delta. Tell me if you recognize 464 Yankee, Yankee Alpha.
Yes.
And first with 464 Yankee, how do you recognize the 464 Yankee?
This is the disc that I signed and dated after reviewing the content.
And we said reviewing the content, what content?
The cell phone records, call details, text message, content.
And is that the content that would have been sent to the requester after a request?
Yes.
Now looking at 464 Yankee Alpha, what is 464 Yankee Alpha?
This is one of the explanation sheets that we provide for the call details, and it explains each column that's encompassed in the record.
And it's 464 Yankee Alpha.
This is the subscriber information for one of the phone numbers.
And do those items appear to be the complete items from what you reviewed and what was given to the Atlanta Police Department regarding this request?
Yes.
This time the state like 10 exhibit 464 Yankee, 464 Yankee Alpha, and 464 Yankee Delta.
They're admitted,
Thank you, Your Honor.
subject to issues that we have to deal with later.
Yes, thank you. I'm now showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1 Tango Tango and 1 Tango Tango Alpha. Tell me if you recognize 1 Tango Tango.
Yes.
And how do you recognize 1 Tango Tango?
This is the second disc of records that I signed and dated after reviewing.
And does that appear to be all of the contents that was given based upon a subpoena from the Fulton County District Attorney's Office?
Yes.
And what is 1 Tango Tango Alpha?
This is the subscriber information for the second phone number.
And with 1 Tango Tango and 1 Tango Tango Alpha, does it appear to have been any additions or deletions?
No.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender 1 Tango Tango and 1 Tango Tango Alpha into evidence.
Admitted and potentially subject to the same if we need to deal with that as well.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Senior Analyst Daniels, I want to first start with 464 Yankee. And 464 is specific Yankee Alpha. Permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Now, looking at 464 Yankee Alpha, if you can explain to the jury, what are we looking at 464 Yankee Alpha?
So this is again, the explanation sheet for the call details with cell site information included in it, and it has each column and the description of each column.
And if you can just tell the jury briefly about each column and the information that would be contained in the call detail record.
Okay, starting from the furthest to the left, which says network element name, that is the switch name. So again, this is the brain of the network that communicates with the towers to tell it what to do and how to do that. The second column to the right of that column would be mobile directory number. So this is what our target number is, or what the requester asked for the number to be searched. Then you have the dial digit number. That's the number that actually was made to make a phone call. So if you dialed in 1-800-922-0204, that's Verizon's phone number. But if that's what you dialed in, that's what we would see on that column. The next column is the call direction. So this tells us, is it incoming? Is it outcoming? Did it get forwarded to voicemail? Was it routed, internally in the network? The next column is called seizure date time. So this is the time of the actual call starting. So as soon as the call started, that's when the time would start. The seizure duration is exactly that. It's the duration of the call, but it's always in seconds. The first serving cell site, so this is the tower that actually communicated with the switch that initiated the phone call. So that's at the moment the call started, that's the tower that hit on the call hit on the tower. The first serving cell face, so that's the actual, there's sections of a cell tower, and it tells us what section was hit on when that call was made. Then you have the last last serving cell site. So that's at the end of the call, where did that call end? What tower was it hitting off of? Again, with the last serving cell face, it's a different section of each tower, and that tells us where the call ended on that section of the tower. And then lastly, you have your calling party number. So that tells us what number initiated the phone call.
And now I want to show you what's been marked as 464 Yankee Delta. And while that's pulling up, let me ask you, for this record in 464 Yankee Delta, who was the requester of this record? I'm sorry, what agency?
This was for the done by the Atlanta Police Department.
And when was this request made?
It was made on August 26, 2015.
Now, looking at 464 Yankee Delta, can you please tell the jury what? We can scroll in. What are we looking at 464 Yankee Delta?
So this is the subscriber information.
And what information is contained on the subscriber information sheet?
So you have the first column, which is, again, that target phone number that was requested.
And what was the target phone number in this case?
This one was 470-217-6080.
And I'm sorry, one more time for me, the phone number.
Sorry, it's 470-217-6080.
And in the second column, column B, what information is contained in that column?
That is the account number for the account.
And column C?
It's the name that's listed on the account.
And what was that name?
Sean Hall.
And is this a prepaid or a postpaid account?
This is a prepaid account.
So is that same concept? Sean Hall could be the person or it could be any name that they chose?
Correct.
And when it says please forward to reseller, what does that mean?
The reason you see that there is if you look at the effective date, the request was made from January 1st, 2015 to August 26, 2015. So at the time of May 2015, Verizon Wireless no longer had that phone number. It was with a different carrier. So that's why you see from July 21st, 2015 to July 21st, 2015, it's with a different carrier, not with Verizon Wireless.
And how long did Verizon have this particular phone number?
A little less than a year.
And is that December 2014, December 9th, 2014 through May 31st, 2015 timeframe?
Correct.
And I want to briefly open up 464 Yankee. And we're not gonna go through this record, but I want to ask you a question once this is published. We'll come back to that.
All right.
Now looking at State's Exhibit 1, Tango Tango. And publishing 1, Tango Tango Alpha. Looking at State's Exhibit 1, Tango Tango Alpha. What are we looking at in 1, Tango Tango Alpha?
This is the subscriber information for the second phone number.
Okay. And for this record, when was this request made?
This request was made February 11th, 2022.
And who made this request?
This was done by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
Okay. And looking at 1 Tango Tango Alpha, what is contained in column A?
Column A is the target number that was provided by the requester to search.
And what is that target number?
That's 706-578-0999.
And when was the search requested for?
The search was requested. Are you speaking about the time frame?
Yes.
The time frame of the search was from February 6, 2022 to February 11, 2022.
And looking at column D, what does MTN stand for?
That's the mobile phone number.
And is that the same number as the target number?
Correct.
All right. And moving to the left, to the right. When it says business name, please forward to reseller, what, if anything, does that mean?
That just means that this phone number, it's not a Verizon number, but it's one of our resellers that uses our towers for service.
And what reseller was this?
Track phone.
And when it says MTN effective date, what is that?
That's just telling us the start of the phone number when it was started.
And on this, does it have a name of a subscriber?
No, because it's a track phone, so it's not our customer.
Now I want to pull up one document in 1 Tango Tango. I would like for you, if you can, to please, what are we looking at in One Tango Tango?
This is the text message content for the phone number that ends in 0999.
Okay, and going from left to right, if you can just tell the jurors, explain what information is contained within each column.
So the first column you'll see that says message arrival, that is the start of when the text message was sent. The final disposition means when the network actually finished the requested transaction. Doesn't mean that it was delivered or not, just that the request has been completed. Where you see SMSC, that's the switch for the text message. The message info just tells us information about arrival or it's outbound. The message final status will show us delivered or failed. The destination address, it sometimes will have like a website if there's like additional content in there that's not just words. Oh, I just lost where I was. Oh, I think where I was on message ID under G. That is just an indicator to us to tell us where that text message is going. The search MTN, again, is that target number. So this was for the 099 number. The originating MDN number is the number that started the text message. So if I send you a text message, my number would appear first. If slide over to J, originate MIN is an internal identification. It's not something for other parties. Terminating MDN is the person who received that text message. So again, if I send you a text message, my number is going to be originating. Your number is going to be terminating. And again, terminating MIN is an internal number, has nothing to do with anything outside of Verizon.
And then what would be in the last column?
It would have the content of the message.
And the content column, does it have the content as it's texted on the phone or on the device?
Now that's information that we would not be able to confirm or deny. There could be things that are not transpired through the network, or there could be symbols that don't transfer over. So I can't say one way or another if it's directly like was texted.
Does Verizon Wireless ever manipulate what's contained within the content column?
No.
All right. Court's indulgence for one moment. And we're just trying to fix one issue.
All right.
We're going to publish 464. Now, looking at 464 Yankee, is this the call cell site information that was provided pursuant to that 2015 request?
Yes.
Okay, and is the information within this document consistent with the information that you discussed, which was in 464 Yankee Alpha?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right. Do any defense counsel have questions for this witness?
No, I don't.
Anybody else? No. Okay, go ahead.
Just one TTA or just one? Thank you, Your Honor. Good. No. Oh, sure. Sure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can I ask you some questions about what's now marked as State's Exhibit number 1TT?
Sure,
And if you need it, it's going to be displayed. If you don't need it, I just want to ask you a couple questions.
sure.
I'm specifically focusing on the text message content column. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes,
And you said something to the effect, I'm not saying this is a quote, but something like Verizon does not verify the accuracy of the content of those words, something like that. Is that correct?
in so many words.
Can you do me a favor? What happens, like if I was to send you a text and I asked, how are you? On the records, it may not come out like that. Is that what you're telling the jury?
That is a possibility.
And why, and if you don't know this, just it's beyond my capability, but why is that?
There could be a lot of factors, but I wouldn't have the factors to provide to you.
Do you know when, like, something is verbatim versus something's not verbatim? Do we have any type of, if you look at the records, any type of knowing like, hey, this is not accurate, but this one is?
Yeah, I would not be able to provide that. I don't have that information to
No, I
tell you.
understand. It's beyond your, no, okay. So you just can't verify that column.
Correct.
How about the other columns? Are they fairly accurate?
All of the columns are fairly accurate, but I wouldn't be able to say with 100% certainty the text message content is exactly what was text.
That's what I was saying. Besides the text message content, the other columns,
Correct. They're all
phone number,
accurate.
duration.
They're
and-
all accurate.
Okay, it's just the text message column that you don't want to verify.
Correct.
All right, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Anybody else? I didn't hear from everybody yet. Any other defense attorney questions? No. Shaking heads? No. Okay. Any redirect? All right.
With the text message content, although you can't say that's what was put in the phone, the content that is there, where does that come from?
It comes from what was sent through the network, through the switch.
Okay, so it's still information, just not right. Okay. Is it,
You may rephrase.
thank you, Your Honor. Is it possible it's not the entire text or parts of the text? Is-
Sounds like it does.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Let me ask a better question. What do you mean by the fact that it would come in what you just said? So,
What I mean is that once a text message is sent through the switch, through the net, which is the network, it is then sent to the other party. When that message is transpired in our content detail, we can't say that there were symbols left out or symbols that are added because we use emojis or pictures in there. So I can't say, yes, there's the whole message, or no, it's not the whole message, because there are other things that can go on to make it where you can't read it, like it's not legible.
thank you.
Thank you, Robert. All right. Ms. Jill, okay. Thank you for your time. You are excused. Let's take a quick bathroom break and then we'll get to your next witness. Okay. All right, well, we'll take a somewhat longer bathroom break. Sure. Yes, and if y'all are finished with that easily, y'all can go ahead and take it down. Yes.
I also have a brief evidentiary matter that I'd like to discuss outside the presence of the jury.
Okay. You want us to do that first? Or? I'd like to. Okay. Um, uh, Yeah, I think a couple of the jurors are gonna come grab their things that they might have left out here, and I'm gonna excuse them for the day. So let's let them do that, and then we'll take the recess, and then we'll reconvene. Thank y'all. Didn't know that when I sent y'all out for the break. Thanks. All right, let's take a 10-minute or so recess and then reconvene. I've got these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of stacks of the correspondence between the state and various attorneys for co-defendants who've pled. And I really hate to do this to you. And some of them are really thin, so it's easy enough for me to just sort through it, but some of them are fairly thick, 2/3 of an inch.
I know, and that was the thin
And
down.
they are in, I don't know, because I've only just now kind of flipped through, but they don't seem to be in any kind of like chronological order. But it may be that, you know, something is like a string that started in 2022 and goes all the way through to 2024. I don't know, maybe. But they're all just sort of bound together as one. And it would be so much more helpful if I knew where one email stopped and the next one started.
Okay.
So can I give these back to you
Yes.
to sort of put in just a little bit more followable format? And then y'all can give them back to me in the morning. Okay, and if you can start with whomever the attorney for Mr. Zachary is, since he may be the first person.
He's not, he
He
wasn't,
won't be?
he wasn't, he's not one of these people. He did
Oh.
not plea. He was not
Okay.
a defendant on this
Okay.
indictment.
All right, great, then we won't have to worry about that.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yes,
I may have misunderstood Miss Love earlier, but when she was talking about giving you these communications,
Mhm.
I thought I heard her drop in a clause that said except for the plea negotiations.
I don't remember.
Did
her
you say that or
saying-
did I mishear you?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
yeah. Okay. Mr. Chart, you had some sort of an evidentiary issue to raise.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it's 464 Yankee. It's the historical cell calls of Demise McMullen. The witness identified it as a business record. Of course, we just saw it on this, we saw a CD. But it was briefly displayed to the point that I saw it. It has added columns that 464 Yankee, as it is right now, has added columns that are not in the format that they would have been received from Verizon. That one added column is,
Hang on, can you pull it up so I can look at what he's talking about? Go ahead.
and so typically, I do the same thing when I get cell phone records. I add columns to identify the people that I believe are associated with certain phones. And it looks like that's what someone that was not an employee of Sprint did here. And
So I see on the screen right now, columns A through I.
so I'm referring to D, and there's one over on the far right that might be like J or K.
Okay.
M.
M.
So those are things that someone, as part of the investigative team,
All right.
added those.
Let me ask.
So we actually did, yes, and we are deleting those columns and adding them to and making sure that the correct column is there. I don't think myself or the Verizon custodian, because she observed these records or she reviewed them, she must not have caught that because we sent these to her so she can look through all of the documents. And so once we publish this is when we noticed that we immediately put it down. And so all the other columns are the same as the historical cell site explanation.
Other than D and M?
Other than D and M. So
And so y'all are gonna withdraw 464Y and put in a substitute 464Y that does not include, or that shifts everything over 2 columns, I guess?
Yeah,
or
so
what?
464 Yankee is what we thought was the entire Verizon records as returned. So we're going to take out this one document and replace it with the right. This one.
So it's only this one McMullen.
Cell site, yes.
Okay. Okay, let's try to be a little bit more careful, please.
And we will, Your Honor, yes.
Anything else on that?
I mean, and not that this is correct, we do expect the evidence will come out that these are Demise McMullen
Okay.
records, but we will make sure it is the right records.
Okay, and actually, one thing you just said reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up. You had said you sent them to her to review, and that's great, but that just reminded me, we've had two sort of, I don't know, crime scene-ish type witnesses on the stand today. One of whom reviewed 60 pictures on the stand, and one of whom reviewed 127 pictures on the stand. And they actually did that pretty fast, but is there, I mean, would anybody have an objection to when we're talking about, the actual people that took the photos who are also kind of professional at doing these kind of jobs? I don't mean like a victim of a crime and this is her house. I don't mean like that, but like, the reporting officer to the scene. Would y'all have any objection, and this goes for everybody in the event that the defense ends up calling witnesses as well, to just being able to have that witness when they're waiting outside, go ahead and review them just to see, hey, are you familiar with these? So that when they're on the stand, you can say, you review them outside everybody agrees and all of that's fine, but that might save 10 minutes, 5 minutes here and there.
So, Your Honor, actually, the witnesses that had reviewed them, they, in one instance, at least the 128 photos, they had actually initialed every one of, like, they had reviewed.
Right,
all
but
of
when
them.
they get handed to them by an attorney and say, can you, and I know that's like what, the process is, but it is equally okay to say, you just review, you just now reviewed these outside, are you familiar with them?
We can
or
do that.
whatever. And I mean, obviously, if you give them to them and say review, they're going to do it again. But
Oh, I
anybody
got
have
you.
a problem with us, maybe like cutting out a minute or two here or there just by doing it that way? Everybody's good with that? All right, let's, from now on, and maybe it'll save us a day or something. I don't know. Okay. All right, I have listened to the entirety of the recorded conversation between the investigator and Miss B. And she essentially, I guess I see where she got the idea that I, as the judge, had been the one that said she had to testify. Not really, but I get where she got it, because at some point the investigator says, so we'll let the judge know, or Miss Hilton will let the judge know that you don't want to appear. And it was in the context of appearing on camera. But I mean, I guess she took from that, oh man, they still gave me a subpoena. So the judge said I have to appear, when that's not in fact what happened. But there wasn't anything nefarious going on. It was just a kind of a misunderstanding, I guess, on her part. And the only other thing, just for, I mean, she is reiterating very strongly everything that she put in the email that y'all all have access to, about that she wants everybody, prosecution and defense, to know that she does not consider herself a witness. I'm sorry, a victim. She does not consider herself a victim. She doesn't look at herself that way. It's a surprise to her that anybody thinks she's a victim, given that this was sort of collateral damage to her apartment. Her apartment wasn't targeted. If she is called to testify, I think she's very much going to make that clear from the stand. One question I have is, given that we already have the testimony from, I think it was Officer Hill, is there anything additional that this witness would be able to present to the jury that would not be cumulative of the officer's testimony?
Your Honor, I think that, and I'll have to confirm reading her, what she did tell them, but I think that one second, let me confirm something real quick.
Okay. but it's like knowing your song. If it closes all the way, does it like disappear? Because that could be something like it. Thank you. It's just the
Your Honor, we can evaluate that
Okay.
and
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to tell y'all, but is there anything else that y'all want to tell me or that we can deal with right now?
I think I think I briefly mentioned it while we were there at the bench, and the court said that that was something we didn't necessarily need to take up, but there may be, given certain evidentiary matters that we could not broach with certain witnesses, there may be
Okay.
a need to bring in.
Oh, yes, right. Thank you. Okay, so yes, there were, which officer was it? The officer that reported to
Miss
the
to Miss
not
Bees,
Hill?
no, Miss, it
Okay.
was Officer Hill.
Was it Officer Hill? I don't think so. I think it was before that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Who the neighbor was, who was in the neighboring house or apartment. And of course, there were hearsay objections, and I mean, it's a valid hearsay objection, and that's why it was sustained. But out of one side of defense valves is a lot of, can we move this trial along? The state's taken too much time. Why does the state want to present all of these witnesses? And then the state had apparently cut a witness or two, hoping to just have this officer testify to who lived next door. And now the state needs to bring in 1 or 2 or 3 more people. And it's fine. It's a valid hearsay objection. And maybe, I don't know whether the state had talked to the defense about, hey, we're trying to cut down on, the time that this trial's taken. We're thinking about having the officer testify to who lived next door. Would y'all have an objection to that? Are you going to make us do all of that? And then we'd know beforehand. So I don't know if that happened or not.
We had not done that thing
Okay.
right there. We had provided a list that had people that had other people on there.
Yeah.
And so we can make it plainer.
Okay.
For instance, with I think that we had mentioned a few days or weeks ago regarding some of the maybe some crime scene technicians that we were going to eliminate and have some officers testify about, but we need to bring in, because if there are certain objections, they're just that are
Okay.
sustained.
So, yeah, maybe let's short circuit some of this in either talk in person or over email or with a representative or something. When you've got an idea like that, like, okay, I can eliminate 3 witnesses if there's not a hearsay objection to XYZ. And then defense attorneys, y'all can let the state know what your position is. And if your position is, we don't care about saving 5 days of testimony, we're going to make the objection, that's fine. Y'all can do that. But then they'll know ahead of time, and they won't maybe even attempt to get that in the other way. So I don't know. Thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention. And yeah, just in future, if there's going to be a potential shortcut, I appreciate you trying to think about it. Just let them know beforehand, and then they can let you know, is that going to be one they're okay with or not? Okay.
Yes, Shana, thank you.
And we had the outstanding issue about AS not wanting to be videoed. I don't know if you want to take that up now or if the state's prepared now or
I
later?
don't know. I think, were y'all gonna get further information and get back to me?
Yes, we were.
And
gonna
you're
get-
not ready
No,
on that
we-
yet?
no, we-
Okay, I know it's only been a couple of hours.
Right, we,
Okay, and do we know when they're gonna be this week, a month from now?
I'm checking because my power partner,
Is
not
that
the
where in
court.
between?
But no, as the matters that we were bringing up to the court earlier regarding longer people have shifted our,
Right, because I don't know who was up here, but y'all all heard there was an expected witness. Was it Turner? Who was it that you said hurt their back?
there were two, and Detective Thorpe hurt his back.
Or,
And obviously the other witness that ended up at Grady this morning.
right. Yeah, so, right. So there has been some, as of, I guess, today, information learned by the state that's going to require some shifting around of witnesses. So do you
And we, and
still expect AS to potentially testify this week, or will they get moved?
they may get moved.
Okay.
We also want, as we're trying to find out certain statuses.
Okay, so I guess maybe just let us know first thing in the morning if you have further information or not.
Yes, we
Okay.
can do that.
All right, and with regard to all of the things that were due from everybody, including Ms. Abbasi was going to give me something. Are those on their way to me?
So yeah, we have the brief, we have to file the brief,
Okay.
but we have the brief written, yes.
Okay, okay.
And let's see what else. And I think that we are. Let's see what else. I'm recounting everything. We're going to work on these. We are still cutting out the court asked us to see if we could pare down the list of co-conspirator statements that we had given, and we were still
Still working
paring
on
that
that.
down.
Okay. So I guess as you know of, if you've been through 3 pages and you at least know that,
Okay.
like what is in and what's out for those, just kind of pass it along to the defense, as y'all know, so that they can start to focus on what objections, if any, they want to make to the stuff you do want in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
because of that need to rearrange witnesses this week, does the state anticipate any witnesses this week that were not on the witness list circulated last Friday?
Your Honor, in light of the timing of all of this, of course, we've all been in the same place, but that is possible. So we are, first of all, we need to find out that information about the status of the longest witness that we had, because we want that person up as quickly as we can get them. So until we get that information, we cannot commit to whether that's going to change things and put people in, but it is likely that we will have to bring in people that we were not going to bring in for this week.
Okay.
Because-
So yeah, it sounds like it's just as likely as not that it'll be a different list of witnesses. Can you get that together tonight and get it to the defense?
Yes,
I
and
assume-
we're just,
Do you know like which kind of set of acts you're gonna go to?
they're all dealing with the set of retaliatory shootings that occurred after January 10th. And it's possible that another co-defendant that entered a plea, after I speak with this person's attorney, I can confirm that, but it's possible that one of those people will be testifying. But
Can you let them know by like 8 o'clock tonight?
yes, as
If
long as
it's
we
not
can,
the people you put on before, like who you think it is gonna be?
yes, and yes, we need to
Okay.
find out, we really need to find out one status of one person.
Okay. Well, and I guess if you don't know for sure what the status of that witness
We'll
is,
assume.
just go ahead and, give them the fallback set of witnesses.
We can do that.
Appreciate that. Okay. So are there other matters that we can deal with?
If we could be allowed to, as soon as the court permits, we want to start alerting certain people if
Okay.
there is the need to,
All
and
right.
to find out those statuses.
All right, well, the answer can be no, but you can also send one of the like 6 people that you have in court right now off to do that while you stay around and deal with potential evidentiary issues. Right? Yes.
Give it, I'm probably the one that's going to be pointing
Okay,
out the ones
then-
that need to be.
Then you go and let somebody else deal with evidentiary issues. There may not be any. I don't know. Why don't we just take the 2 more minutes and find out if there's an answer to the question? Are we ready to deal with any other non-jury matters right now? I really need y'all to get that way soon though, because we keep having these unexpected non-jury hours. So let's get ready fairly quickly to deal with some evidentiary issues. Okay?
I'll say this, and I believe the court was copied on it. Mr. Steele filed after their review of the evidentiary item. So we just need the opportunity to look through
Yeah.
that
Yes.
filing and we can work through that.
Okay.
Okay.
You added more? Okay, great. All right. Okay, yeah, anything else right now?
I found that last witness interesting, so I'm getting cases for you, and I put it in writing just so everyone's alert.
Okay,
And I put it from me, but I did discuss with everyone on the representing people here, representing the accused here.
right.
The last witness said that column in 1TT, she could not verify its accuracy, and she's a records custodian, which has to verify the accuracy, that it comes in the normal course of business, and it is how they handle it, and it's accurate. And I have a couple cases, but I'm looking for more. But I'm going to be objecting to that column. I just wanted to give you, if you want to take that up now, but I am looking for more cases, but that will be an objection. And that was preserved, I know, by, we went to the bench and we had specifics on the text messages, certain words, certain messages were not relevant, but I wanted to make it encompass that entire column.
Okay, so the objection at the bench was that in terms of the content, we hadn't hashed out
Right.
whether
And now I'm objecting.
everything was going to come in or not. And it sounded like that with regard to authentication, as long as she testified to authenticate everything, it
That's
would,
my-
that objection, that wasn't going to be made. And I've kind of already admitted it Although I think all that's been displayed so far is maybe 1 page worth, is
Yeah.
that right?
And you blacked out. This honorable court ordered it blacked out. So there's no, I'm not trying to go backwards. I'm just
Okay.
saying in the future, we would like to exclude based upon that testimony, the text messages.
All right, and do y'all want to respond right now or at all, or?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
We believe that the testimony of the custodian was she cannot verify what actually gets transmitted into the document, but the document as it is what Verizon gets, what Verizon produces, and that none of the people at Verizon manipulate what is in that content column, but it's solely because of transmission. She even gave the explanation. An emoji might not come through because of however the language changes. When I say the language, I mean like the technical language changes, but whatever is in the record is what has been transmitted and produced into the record. And so
Is what Verizon has.
is what Verizon has, and Verizon produces what it has.
Yeah, so I mean, I think to that extent, it is authenticated as the records Verizon has. And with the sort of caveat that what is shown in the content column may not be precisely what it was my understanding, she was saying it might not be precisely what the ultimate recipient gets because it doesn't pick up, it may not pick up something like a symbol or an emoji.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
So I don't think that that column is not properly authenticated. I think it is. It's just that you all will be able to make whatever argument you make about whether they should believe anything about what is said for the content of that. It is what Verizon gets from the switch, whatever the switch is.
She would, and obviously Miss Winfrey would be the best person, but the way I have it is Miss Hilton asked Miss Daniels, the witness, and the content column talking about what we're talking about. Does it have the content as it is texted on the phone or on the device? And Miss Daniels said, no. That's information that we would not be able to confirm or deny. There could be things that are not transferred through the network, or there could be symbols that don't transfer over. So I can't say one way or another if it's directly like what it was texted. That was on
Right,
direct.
and then following up, we got further detail that it sounded like it was things like symbols and emojis, but that what is shown on there is what Verizon, that comes from the switch/network essentially. So
Okay, I'm just, I just want my record, I guess, to be accurate. But I asked on cross-examination, I said, can you do me a favor? What happens if I were to send you a text message and I asked, how are you? On the records, it may not come out like that. Is that what you're telling the jury? And her answer is, that is a possibility.
yes,
That has nothing to do with an emoji. That's the words.
no, I heard that too.
She said there could be a lot of factors, but I wouldn't have the factors to provide to you. I'm not able to provide that. I don't have that information to tell you is what she said.
Okay.
So I would like you not to admit that column.
Okay, well, it's somewhat problematic that you're only making the authentication objection now after the witness is gone.
I'm not trying to, I thought we made it.
You made a relevance, well, not you, but you, the defense team made not even a relevance objection, but made an objection to essentially the kind of thing I understood it to be not as to authentication of anything, but as to should something nonetheless be excluded content wise because of some other objection, like we've been hashing through with other people's phone calls and interviews and all of those kind of things that are otherwise objectionable. And I'm sorry, that was the way I understood. I think I even said so not authentication. This is just going to be authentication here.
Well, I don't believe that
I
witness.
apparently you didn't mean that, but I didn't.
Well, I
know
don't,
that.
no, I did not, I wanted to hear from the witness. That's why we would not stipulate. And the witness, I don't believe, laid a proper foundation before this honorable court for text message content. And I don't believe it's waived.
Your Honor, I believe their argument would go to weight and admissibility. She said that these are the records that Verizon gets, these are the records that Verizon produced pursuant to the subpoena that she received, and that this is the information that was given from Verizon. Now, whether or not defense counsel wants to challenge the content inside of it based upon what she said, they can, but the records themselves is what came from Verizon. I think she was clear in. I'm saying that I can't tell you for a fact that this is what was put into the phone, but this is what was transmitted from the switch, and this is what was produced. And again, no one has changed what was in the content column, but this is what is produced directly from the records. And it was probably authenticated because there was no authentication objection at the time in which the records were tendered and admitted. And these records have been provided to defense counsel, I believe, since 2022. So that column is there. So even when she began talking about it again, doesn't change the fact that the records themselves are authenticated.
I mean, I really do think that if there was going to be an authentication objection to that column, even, that you could easily have alerted the court to the fact. And I know you were examining her about, well, is the content going to be exactly this, or, you know, is this something that if displayed to the jury and it says, how are you? It may or may not have actually said, how are you? But with regard to it being the record of Verizon, you should have said, I've got an authentication objection to this based on what she said.
I'll look at a waiver issue, but
Okay.
I don't believe, they put up the witness, it's their burden, and the witness did not come through on that column, in my opinion, and we voiced an objection.
That's the part I guess I'm having a problem with, is the we voiced an objection part, because you did not say that you had an authentication objection when we were up here at the bench.
Okay, so whatever was said at the bench is said at the bench, and then we blacked out, we mean the court blacked out, and now I don't believe that there's any reason to say that it's waived, because it was blacked out, not discussed, and the witness did not lay the foundation, in my opinion. And
they may not be able to. I'm just saying, the time to make the objection is when we still have the witness available.
well, then, I mean, the witness was examined, she said on direct, then on cross, and then on redirect, and I don't believe that portion, when a records custodian comes in and they say, I cannot verify the record, this is what I have, but I don't verify it, then they have failed.
Well, she's verifying that this is the official record of Verizon.
But I can't
She's just
verify
saying,
the content.
I guess we can't verify that the content is exactly that the content but I mean, this is what she could have clarified if we had known that this was an objection.
Yeah, I believe she did. I think she did clarify, because when the question came on cross, what she said is, this is the content that is given from the record, from the switch. So this is.
We know what that means. She said network at some point, but I mean, I don't know.
You're right. I can, if we need additional clarification, I can see if she's available to return. But again, she confirmed that the records that are entered are the records that are produced. That is what has to be authenticated. The content inside of it, she explained, as a Verizon wireless custodian, I cannot say this is what was texted in the phone. However, this is the documentation pursuant to what has been transmitted that comes in. She gave further explanation to explain, I'm talking about emojis might be missing, But I also asked her, does anyone at Verizon change what is in the content itself? And she said no,
Right.
because that is the record as produced. So she authenticated the record. If
Right.
there's a challenge to the content,
I
that
mean, I guess it honestly is more like Mr. Steele hasn't referred to it in this way, but if there is a column that, and if it is all that could possibly be missing is an emoji or a symbol, that's one thing. But that's, I mean, part of her testimony suggests that. Part of her testimony suggests it may be more from the, if I text you, how are you today? And you can't say whether the record's going to reflect that or not, then maybe it's something more than the emoji. And this is something that could have been cleared up potentially if we still had the witness. But if it is, if the contents of the content column can in no way be relied upon to be even close to what actually got texted, and I'm not saying that that is the case, but I'm saying I don't think it's 100% clear about that, then it's essentially would be like a relevance objection to that column, regardless of whether it is the document, the official document from Verizon. So while Mr. Steele has said it's an authentication objection, I mean, is that essentially what you're saying, is that if we don't know whether anything about that content is accurate, then why should that ever go before the jury?
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think that that could be an argument, and when the contents come in, there will be corroborating evidence around the relevant content. I think that that's something that can be addressed on a text message by text message basis once we get to that portion of the identified text messages in the relevant portion of time.
Well,
And I mean, if we need to recall the Verizon wireless custodian, we can do that. I can see if she's available tomorrow morning.
I mean, it's ultimately up to y'all, but you hear the arguments being made. Okay. All right. Anything else today? No. All right. Okay. So we're gonna, I guess, adjourn court a little bit early for today, but please, just like Friday, please continue to work on this case together and separately, because there is clearly so much still that needs to, that y'all need to get together on and address, and let me know about, so that we can sort out whatever issues remain and not have to only do it on the fly. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking 8:45 tomorrow for all of us. All right, I'll see y'all then.
And did the court give you till in the morning so you wanted these
You can just give those to me first thing in the morning,
Okay.
and by first thing in the morning, I mean 8:45.
Choke, no joke. I will be live later with a special guest. I will be live later with a special guest. I'm out.